guys, it's Alexis, aka the Sloth Reader, and I'm here today to do the mid-year book Freakout tag. I will leave the original video down below. I've seen this all over BookTube, and I was like, wow, that's a good little reflection for the year, so I'm gonna go ahead and just get into it. Number 1, what's the best book you've read so far in 2016? And I've read a lot of really great books this year, but I think the one that stuck with me the longest, and the one that I'm gonna have to give it to, is gonna be Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. I read this one back in February or so, and I loved it so much, and this is my favorite book in the series so far, and the amount of feelings I have and just the character development in this book, I love it so much. Number 2, best sequel you've read in 2016, and again, I read a lot of really phenomenal sequels, but I think the one that's still a star in my head is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. This is the second book in the Shades of Magic series by her. It came out in February, and I literally put this book down and was like, wow, the bar is set ridiculously high for 2016 releases because this book was phenomenal. Number 3, a new release that you haven't read yet but want to, and shocker, it's A Court of Mist and Fury, because this book is massive, and I already am having to read a bunch of other books right now, and I want to read this book, especially because so many people have been talking about how amazing it is, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I really have 3 big anticipated releases. The first is Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas, which is the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series. The second one is A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. This is the sequel to An Ember in the Ashes. And the third is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and that is the sequel to Illuminae. Number 5, biggest disappointment. I think I'm gonna have to give it to the All for the Game trilogy by Nora Sakovic. I couldn't finish the second book in the series because I really just did not like it. And I don't understand what all the hype about that book series is because I was not enjoying any part of it at all. Number 6, biggest surprise, and this was going to be no surprise to anybody, but it was Vengeance Road by Erin Bowman. I thought I actually hated Westerns, and I read this book and I realized that I actually am in love with the Western genre. And I loved everything about this book, from the way it looks, to the characters, to the story, to the writing, and I am so excited that Erin Bowman is going to do a companion novel as a sequel because this book is awesome. I absolutely loved it. It was so good. Number 7 is favorite new author, and this author is new to me, but she's been around for a while, and that is V.E. Schwab. The first V.E. Schwab book I ever read was back in January when I read A Darker Shade of Magic, and I am absolutely obsessed with her. I got to meet her back in March, and that made me only love her more because then I was just absolutely in love with her whole personality, and basically from now on I'm going to purchase every single book that this woman ever writes because I love her. Number 8, newest fictional crush, and for me that's gonna be Damon from the Captive Prince trilogy by C.S. Pacat. While I do love Laurent, Damon is much more my kind of man, so I am absolutely in love with him, and getting to read this book from his third-person point of view was awesome because it just absolutely made me fall in love with him. Number 9, newest favorite character, and that's going to be Ronan Lynch from the Raven Cycle Quartet by Maggie Stiefvater. There's pretty much not a thing I don't love about Ronan because he's amazing, and I think Ronan and I could be awesome best friends, and we would just be sassy together, and there's not a day that goes by that I didn't wish Ronan Lynch was my best friend. Number 10, a book that made you cry, and I'm gonna have to go with The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. I cried throughout this entire book. I cried happy tears, I cried sad tears, I cried tears of frustration, I cried book hangover tears when it was over, and yeah, I cried a lot during this book. Number 11, a book that made you happy, and I'm gonna go with Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. I'm reading Harry Potter for the first time this year, and I read this one, and I think there was a smile on my face through every page, because this is my favorite book so far, and I just absolutely love this one because I loved the reading about the Marauders and Harry's past, and it just made me really happy, even though this was a darker novel compared to I think the first two. This one just made me so happy because the Marauders. Number 12, favorite book to film adaptation that you have seen this year. I have literally not been to the movies once this year, so I don't have an answer for this. There's a lot of book to movie adaptations I wanted to see, but I haven't gotten there yet. I mean, if you want to count Deadpool, I would say Deadpool, because it really fit the comics perfectly. But if you don't want to count comics, then I don't have an answer. Number 13, favorite video you've done so far this year. That's really hard. I really enjoyed doing the top 5 Wednesday videos this year. But I've really enjoyed most of the videos I've done this year, so I've been really happy with what I've done. Number 14, most beautiful book you've brought so far, and I'm gonna have to give it to Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton because I am in love with this cover. I think this cover is just absolutely beautiful. It's so gorgeous. The color scheme and just the font and the little picture in the background right here. It's so pretty. Number 15, what books do you have to read by the end of the year? And I'm gonna say the rest of the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. It was my goal this year to read all the Harry Potter books, and I've got the first 3 down, which means now I've got the 4 biggest books in the series to go. And I want to finish them by the end of the year, so I definitely need to get on that. Alright guys, well that has been the mid-year book freakout tag. This was really fun to do because it also made me realize that I've read 20-something books this year, but most of the books have been series. I've really just been like reading a bunch of series. So it made me realize I think I need to pick up a couple standalones because I don't have very much varied reading going on right now. But this was a really fun tag to do. I strongly urge you guys to all do it. Let me know down below if any of the answers to these questions that you really like, but I would like to know what was the biggest disappointment you guys read this year. Alright, I'll see you guys soon with another video. Bye!